Sarah Chone should have kept driving. That's what her mother would have said. That's what any reasonable person would have said. It was past midnight on a Tuesday. She was alone on a dark stretch of Highway 33 outside Fresno, and the man on the side of the road looked like trouble. But Sarah had never been good at doing what reasonable people said. She'd been driving home from a second job night shift at a warehouse distribution center, packing boxes for 8 hours after spending the day as a receptionist at a dental office. 2 jobs, 60 hours a week, and still barely enough to cover rent, utilities, and food for her and her son. That was life as a single mum in California. You did what you had to do. The motorcycle was pulled over on the shoulder, hazard lights blinking in the darkness. The man was crouched beside it, his back to the road, doing something with the engine. Sarah's headlights swept over him as she approached, leather jacket, dark hair, broad shoulders. "Keep driving," she told herself. "He's probably fine. Probably has a phone, roadside assistance, friends on the way." But she slowed down anyway. Something about the way he was hunched over, the stillness of him, made her think he'd been there a while. Made her think he might not have anyone coming. She pulled over about 20 feet ahead of the motorcycle and sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel, second-guessing herself. This was stupid. This was how people ended up on the news. Single mother of one found on the side of the road. Police are investigating. But she got out of the car anyway. The man looked up as she approached. He was older than she'd expected, mid-50s maybe, with a weathered face and eyes that had seen things she probably couldn't imagine. His leather jacket was torn at the shoulder, and there was a cut on his forehead that had been bleeding but had mostly dried. "Car trouble?" Sarah asked, keeping her distance. The man studied her for a moment. His expression was unreadable, not threatening, exactly, but not welcoming either. Like he was trying to figure out why she'd stopped. "Bike trouble," he said. His voice was low and rough, like gravel in a tumbler. "Fuel lines clogged. I've been trying to clear it, but I can't see what I'm doing." Sarah looked at the motorcycle. It was a big Harley, black and chrome, clearly well maintained, despite its current problems. The kind of bike that costs more than her car. "I have a flashlight," she said, "in my trunk. Would that help?" The man's eyebrows rose slightly. "You're offering to help me? You're broken down on the side of the road in the middle of the night. Seems like you could use it. Most people would have kept driving. Most people aren't me." She went back to her car and got the flashlight, a big mag light she kept for emergencies, and brought it to him. He took it with a nod that might have been thanks and aimed it at the engine, illuminating the problem. "There it is," he muttered, "piece of debris in the line. I can't get it out, but I need something thin. A wire or a pin." Sarah thought for a moment. "I have a sewing kit in my glove box. There are needles." She went back to the car again, found the little travel sewing kit she kept for wardrobe emergencies, and brought it over. The man selected a needle, bent over the engine, and went to work. Sarah stood there awkwardly, holding the flashlight, not sure if she should stay or go. The night was cold, and she was tired, and her son was at home with a babysitter she was paying by the hour. But leaving felt wrong somehow, like abandoning something she'd started. "You got a name?" the man asked without looking up. "Sarah, Sarah." He repeated it like he was filing it away. "You always stop for strangers on the side of the road, Sarah." "Not always. But you looked like you needed help. Could have been dangerous. Could have been. But you're not." He looked up at that, meeting her eyes for the first time. There was something in his gaze, surprise maybe, or curiosity. Like he wasn't used to people making that assumption about him. "How do you know?" he asked. "I don't, but I've learned to trust my gut, and my gut says you're just a guy with a broken bike Who needs a flashlight and a needle? The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile but close. He went back to work. A few minutes later, he grunted with satisfaction and pulled the needle out of the fuel line. A tiny piece of debris stuck to the tip. "That should do it," he said. He stood up, brushed off his hands, and handed her back the needle and the flashlight. "Thank you. You're welcome." He straddled the bike and hit the starter. The engine turned over immediately, roaring to life with a sound that shook Sarah's chest. He let it idle for a moment, listening, then nodded, good as new. Sarah stepped back, expecting him to ride off, but he sat there, looking at her. "You should get home," he said. "It's late. Not safe for you to be out here. I could say the same to you. I can take care of myself." "So can I." Another almost smile. "Yeah, I'm starting to see that." He revved the engine, preparing to go. Then he stopped. "You got anyone at home? Husband, boyfriend?" The question caught her off guard. "Why do you want to know?" "Just asking." She hesitated, then decided there was no point in lying. "No, just me and my son. He's 7. The man nodded slowly. Something shifted in his expression, a hardening, like a decision being made. "Drive safe, Sarah," he said, "and lock your doors when you get home." Before she could respond, he pulled onto the road and accelerated away, the red taillight shrinking into the darkness until it disappeared. Sarah stood there for a moment, alone on the empty highway, wondering what had just happened. Then she got in her car and drove home, the encounter already fading into the surreal haze of a late-night memory. She didn't know his name, didn't know anything about him. She'd probably never see him again, or so she thought. The next few days were normal. The same grind: wake up, get her son Lucas ready for school, work the day job, pick him up from aftercare, make dinner, put him to bed, go to the night job, come home, sleep for 5 hours, repeat. It was exhausting and relentless, and sometimes Sarah wondered if this was all her life would ever be. But it was stable. It was safe. And after the chaos of her marriage and divorce, stable and safe were worth more than gold. Her ex-husband, Derek, had been charming once. Handsome, funny, full of big dreams and bigger promises. She'd fallen for him hard, married him fast, had Lucas before she realized that the charm was a mask and the dreams were delusions. Garrett couldn't hold a job, couldn't stop gambling, couldn't tell the truth if his life depended on it. When she'd finally kicked him out 3 years ago, he'd owed money to people she didn't want to know about. He was supposed to be gone. Out of state, last she heard, starting over somewhere else. The divorce was final. The custody agreement gave her full rights, and she'd changed the locks and moved on with her life. But Derek had a way of coming back. It happened on a Friday night. Sarah was home for once, no night shift, a rare evening off. She'd made popcorn and let Lucas pick a movie, and they were curled up on the couch together, her son's head on her shoulder, when she heard the knock on the door. It was after 9. She wasn't expecting anyone. "Stay here, baby," she told Lucas. "I'll be right back." She went to the door and looked through the peephole. Her stomach dropped. Derek. He looked bad, thinner than she remembered, with dark circles under his eyes and a nervous energy that she recognized from the old days. The energy that meant he was in trouble. She didn't open the door. "What do you want, Derek?" "Sarah, please. I just need to talk to you. We don't have anything to talk about. It's important. Please, just 5 minutes." She should have told him to leave. Should have threatened to call the police. But Lucas was right there in the living room, and she didn't want him to hear her yelling at his father through the door. Didn't want to scare him. She opened the door a crack, leaving the chain on. 5 minutes, she said. Talk. Derek ran his hand through his hair. "I'm in trouble, Sarah. Bad trouble. I owe some people money, a lot of money, And they're not the kind of people who wait. That's not my problem. I know it's not. But I don't have anyone else to ask. He looked at her with those eyes, the ones that used to make her believe anything he said. I just need a loan. $5,000. I'll pay it back, I swear. I just need to get these guys off my back, and then I'll disappear. You'll never hear from me again. I don't have $5,000, Derek. I barely have 500. You have to have something. Savings, credit cards. I have a son to feed. That's what I have. Sarah felt her anger rising. You think I'm working 2 jobs because I have money lying around. You think this is easy for me. I know it's not. I know. But Sarah, he stepped closer, and she saw something in his face that made her blood run cold. Fear. Real fear. These people will hurt me. They'll hurt you and Lucas if they think it'll make me pay faster. You don't know what they're capable of. Then go to the police. I can't. You know I can't. And that's your problem, not mine. She started to close the door, but Derek grabbed it, held it open. Sarah, please, let go of my door. Just listen to me. Let go. Or I'm calling the police right now. Derek's expression shifted. The fear was still there, but something else crept in behind it. Desperation. The look of a man with no good options who is about to do something bad. I don't want to do this, he said quietly. But I need that money. And one way or another, I'm going to get it. Before Sarah could respond, she heard it. A motorcycle engine. Distant at first, then closer, then very close. The sound filled the street, rumbling and powerful, and Derek's head snapped toward it. A single headlight appeared at the end of the block. A motorcycle, coming fast, then slowing as it approached Sarah's house. It pulled to a stop at the curb, the engine idling, the rider's face hidden by a dark helmet. Derek stared at the bike, at the rider. His face went pale. Who is that? He asked. I don't know, Sarah said. But something stirred in her memory. That engine. She'd heard it before. The rider didn't move. Didn't take off the helmet. Didn't get off the bike. Just sat there, watching, waiting. Derek took a step back from the door. Then another. This isn't over, he said to Sarah. But his voice had lost its edge. He was scared, more scared of the motorcycle than he'd been of anything else. He turned and walked quickly to his car, parked down the street, got in, started the engine, and drove away without looking back. Sarah stood in the doorway, heart pounding, watching him go. Then she looked at the motorcycle. The rider raised one hand, not a wave, more of a salute, an acknowledgement. Then the engine roared, and the bike pulled away into the night. Sarah closed the door with shaking hands, locked it, chained it, double-checked the windows. Then she went back to the living room, where Lucas was looking at her with worried eyes. Who was that, Mummy? No one, baby. Just someone Mummy used to know. Are you okay? I'm fine. Everything's fine. She pulled him close, held him tight, and tried to convince herself that was true. But she couldn't stop thinking about that motorcycle. About the rider who'd appeared out of nowhere, exactly when she needed him. And about the stranger on the side of the road 3 nights ago, who'd asked if she had anyone at home. Sarah didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound. The house settling, cars passing on the street, the wind in the trees outside her window. Every noise made her tense, made her imagine Derek coming back, or someone worse, the people he owed money to, the ones he'd said would hurt her and Lucas. She thought about calling the police. But what would she say? My ex-husband came by and asked for money. A motorcycle drove past my house. There was nothing they could do, nothing they would do, until something actually happened, and by then it might be too late. Around 3 in the morning she got up and checked on Lucas. He was sleeping peacefully, his stuffed dinosaur tucked under his arm, his face relaxed and innocent. He didn't know anything was wrong. She wanted to keep it that way. She went to the kitchen, made tea, sat at the table in the dark, tried to think. Derek was scared, that was clear. Whoever he owed money to, they weren't messing around. And if he was desperate enough to come to hurt, to threaten her, then he was out of options, which made him dangerous. But that motorcycle, that rider, she kept coming back to it, the timing, the way Derek had reacted, the salute before the rider drove away. It couldn't be a coincidence. The stranger on the side of the road, the one she'd helped with the flashlight and the needle, he'd asked about her family, asked if she had anyone at home. He'd told her to lock her doors. Was he watching her, following her? The thought should have been terrifying. A strange man tracking her movements, showing up at her house, that was stalker behavior. That was called the police behavior. But she wasn't afraid. That was the strange part. She should have been, but she wasn't. Because he hadn't hurt her, hadn't threatened her. He'd shown up when Derek was at her door, and Derek had run. He'd protected her. The next few days were quiet. Derek didn't come back. No one came to the door. Sarah went to work, took care of Lucas, tried to pretend everything was normal. But she was watching now, paying attention, and she started to notice things. A motorcycle parked down the street when she left for work in the morning, gone when she came home, but there again at night, tucked into the shadows at the end of the block. She couldn't see the rider, couldn't even tell if it was the same bike, but she felt it, felt watched. Once, coming home late from a night shift, she saw the motorcycle fall in behind her on the highway. It kept its distance, never getting too close, but it stayed with her all the way to her exit. Then it peeled off and disappeared. She should have been scared. She should have called someone, done something. But instead, she felt safe. Safer than she had in years. Someone was looking out for her. She didn't know why, didn't know what she'd done to earn it. But for the first time since her divorce, she didn't feel alone. A week after Derek's visit, Sarah was at the grocery store with Lucas when she saw the man again. She was in the produce section, squeezing avocados, while Lucas ran around looking at everything and touching what he wasn't supposed to. Normal Sunday afternoon stuff. Then she looked up and saw him. He was at the end of the aisle, near the apples. Same leather jacket, same weathered face, same eyes that seemed to see everything. He wasn't looking at her, was examining a bag of oranges like it was the most interesting thing in the world, but she knew he'd seen her. Knew he was aware of exactly where she was. Sarah's heart rate spiked. She should walk away. Should take Lucas and leave, go to a different store, avoid this man who was clearly following her. Instead, she walked toward him. "It's you," she said. He looked up. His expression didn't change, no surprise, no alarm. Like he'd been expecting her to approach. "Hello, Sarah. You've been following me. I've been keeping an eye on you." "That's the same thing." "No, it's not." He set down the oranges and faced her fully. "Following you would mean I want something from you. Keeping an eye on you means I want to make sure you're okay." "Why?" "You don't know me. We met for 10 minutes on the side of the road. You helped me. Most people wouldn't have stopped. You did." He shrugged. "Where I come from, that means something. Where you'll come from." He didn't answer. Just looked at her with those steady, unreadable eyes. Lucas appeared at her side, tugging on her jacket. "Mommy, can we get the dinosaur cereal? Please." Sarah looked down at her son, then back at the man. He was watching Lucas with an expression she couldn't quite identify. Something soft, almost sad. "What's your name?" she asked. "You never told me." "No, I didn't. I think I deserve to know, don't you? If you're going to keep following me around." The corner of his mouth twitched. That almost smile again. "Marcus," he said. "Marcus." She repeated it the way he'd repeated her name that night on the highway. "You're a Hell's Angel, aren't you?" His eyebrows rose slightly. What makes you say that? The bike, the jacket, the way Derek looked at you like he'd seen him a ghost. She paused. I'm not stupid. No, you're not. He was quiet for a moment. Yeah, I'm a Hell's Angel. Sarah felt a chill run through her. She knew what that meant. I thought she did. The stories, the rumors, the things people said about biker gangs, criminals, violent men, dangerous. But this man had helped her, had protected her from Derek, had been watching over her for a week without asking for anything in return. Why me? She asked. Why do you care what happens to me? Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, You've got somewhere we can talk. Somewhere the kid doesn't have to hear. Sarah hesitated. Every instinct said this was a bad idea, going somewhere private with a man she didn't know. A man who'd admitted to being in a biker gang. This was how people got hurt. But her gut said something else. Her gut said Marcus wasn't going to hurt her. There's a coffee shop across the street, she said. They have a play area. Lucas can stay there while we talk. Marcus nodded. Lead the way. The coffee shop was quiet. Sunday afternoon lull, just a few customers scattered around. Sarah got Lucas set up in the play area with a cookie and a juice box, then took a table near the window where she could see him. Marcus sat across from me, his big frame awkward in the small chair. He looked out of place here, among the suburban mums and college students. But he didn't seem uncomfortable, just ... watchful. So, Sarah said, talk. Marcus was quiet for a moment, like he was deciding where to start. Your ex-husband owes money to a man named Victor Salinas, he said finally. You know who that is? Sarah shook her head. He's a loan shark. Operates out of Bakersfield. Has connections all over the Central Valley. He's not cartel level, but he's serious. People who don't pay him back tend to have bad things happen to them. Sarah's stomach tightened. How much does Derek owe? 40,000. 40. She couldn't even process that number. How? Gambling, mostly. Some bad investments. Your ex isn't good with money. Tell me something I don't know. Salinas doesn't care how the debt happened. He just cares about getting paid. And when Derek couldn't pay, he started making threats. That's when your ex came to you. Sarah thought about Derek's face at her door. The fear in his eyes. He said they would hurt me and Lucas. He's probably right. Salinas uses family as leverage. It's his favorite tactic. Marcus's jaw tightened. It's not going to happen. How can you be sure? Because I'm going to make sure. Sarah stared at him. Why? You don't owe me anything. I gave you a flashlight and a needle. That's not worth. She gestured vaguely at everything. This. Marcus was quiet again. Then he said, I have a daughter. Haven't seen her in 12 years. She grew up without me. Her mother took her, moved away, made sure I couldn't find them. Last I heard, she had a kid of her own. A son, about your boy's age. He looked toward the play area, where Lucas was building something with plastic blocks. I think about her every day. Think about what kind of life she has, whether she's happy, whether she's safe. And I think about her kid, my grandson growing up without knowing me, without knowing I exist. He turned back to Sarah. When I saw you on the side of the road that night, I saw someone who reminded me of her. A mother doing everything on her own, working herself to the bone, trying to give her kid a good life. And when you stopped to help me, a stranger, in the middle of the night, when anyone with sense would have kept driving, I saw someone with a good heart. Someone who deserved better than what life was giving her. So you decided to watch over me. I decided to make sure nothing bad happened to you, because I can't do it for my daughter. But I can do it for you. Sarah felt tears prick at her eyes. She blinked them back, not wanting to cry in front of this man, this stranger who'd somehow become her protector. I don't know what to say, she admitted. You don't have to say anything. Just let me help you. Let me deal with Salinas. Get Derek out of your life for good. And then I'll disappear. You'll never see me again if that's what you want, and if it's not what I want. Marcus looked at her with something like surprise. Then I guess we'll figure something else out. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Sarah asked the question that had been nagging at her since Derek's visit. What are you going to do? To Salinas? You don't need to know that. Yes, I do. If you're doing it for me, I need to know. Marcus studied her. Then he said, I'm going to make it clear that you and your son are under the club's protection. That anyone who touches you answers to us. Salinas is smart enough to understand what that means. He'll write off Derek's debt and stay away from you. And if he doesn't, then we'll have a different kind of conversation. His voice was flat, final, but it won't come to that. Men like Salinas are businessmen. They understand risk and reward. Going to war with the Hells Angels over $40,000. That's not good business. Sarah nodded slowly. She wasn't sure she fully understood what she was agreeing to, but she understood enough. Marcus was going to use his position, his power to make her problems go away, and she was going to let him. Okay, she said, do what you have to do. I will. And Marcus. She waited until he met her eyes. Thank you. I know you don't want me to say that, but thank you. He nodded once. Then he stood up, leaving a 20 on the table for coffee neither of them had ordered. I'll be in touch, he said. Keep your doors locked. And keep being the kind of person who stops for strangers on the side of the road. The world needs more people like that. Then he walked out of the coffee shop, and Sarah was left alone with her son and a future that suddenly looked very different than it had an hour ago. True to his word, Marcus handled it. Sarah didn't know the details, didn't want to know, but 3 days after their conversation at the coffee shop, Derek called her. His voice was shaking. It's done, he said. Salinas called off the debt. I don't know what you did or who you talked to, but it's done. I'm leaving town. You won't hear from me again. Good, Sarah said. Sarah. He hesitated. I'm sorry. For everything. I know that doesn't mean much, but I'm sorry. You're right. It doesn't mean much. She hung up and stood there in her kitchen, phone in hand, waiting to feel something. Relief, maybe. Triumph. Closure. What she felt was tired. Tired of Derek. Tired of being afraid. Tired of carrying everything alone. But she wasn't alone anymore, was she? That was the strange part. Somewhere out there, a man she barely knew was watching over her, keeping her safe, and she had no idea what that meant or what it would cost her. A week passed, then 2. Sarah didn't see Marcus, didn't hear from him, but she felt his presence, or imagined she did. The motorcycle parked down the street, the sense of being watched. She found herself thinking about him at odd moments, wondering where he was, what he was doing, whether he was thinking about her too. It was ridiculous. She didn't know this man. He was a Hells Angel, for God's sake, a member of a gang that most people cross the street to avoid. She should be grateful for his help, and relieved that he was keeping his distance. But she wasn't relieved. She was disappointed, because talking to him in the coffee shop had felt good, real, like she was finally being seen by someone who understood what her life was like. And because, if she was honest with herself, she wanted to see him again. The opportunity came on a Saturday morning. Sarah was at the park with Lucas, watching him play on the climbing structure, when she spotted Marcus sitting on a bench across the way. He was reading a newspaper, actually reading it, not just pretending, and he hadn't looked up when she arrived. But he knew she was there. She was sure of it. She told Lucas to stay where she could see him, then walked over and sat down on the bench beside Marcus. You could have just said hello, she said. Didn't want to intrude. You've been following me for weeks. I think we're past intruding. He lowered the newspaper and looked at her. There was something different in his face today. More relaxed, maybe. Less guarded. How are you? He asked. Better. Derek's gone. Salinas is apparently gone. I actually slept through the night for the first time in a month. Good. That's good. Thank you. For whatever you did, you already thanked me. I'll thank you again. I think it's warranted. He almost smiled. She was starting to treasure those almost smiles. They felt like victories. Can I ask you something? She said. You can ask. Your daughter. The one you haven't seen in 12 years. What happened? The relaxation faded from his face. He was quiet for a long moment. I made choices, he said finally. When she was young, I was in deep with the club. In and out of jail, gone for weeks at a time. Her mother got tired of it. Got tired of raising our daughter alone, tired of wondering if I was coming back, tired of the life. So she took Emily and left. Got a restraining order. Made sure I couldn't find them. Did you try? At first. But then I realized maybe she was right. Maybe Emily was better off without me. What kind of father could I be, living the way I was living? So I stopped looking. Told myself it was for her own good, and now I'm old and tired, and I think about her every day. He looked at Sarah. I think about what I missed. Birthdays, graduations, all the moments that make up a life. I'll never get those back. I'll never know who she became. Sarah felt her heart ache for him. This hard, dangerous man, carrying this weight of loss. Have you ever thought about reaching out? She asked. Now, I mean, just to see if she'd talk to you. I've thought about it. But what would I say? Sorry I wasn't there. Hope you had a good life without me. He shook his head. Some things can't be fixed with a phone call. Maybe not. But maybe she'd want to hear from you anyway. Maybe she's been waiting. Marcus didn't respond. But something flickered in his eyes. Hope, maybe. Or fear of hope. They sat in silence, watching Lucas play. He was hanging upside down from the monkey bars, laughing, carefree. He had no idea that his mother was sitting with a Hell's Angel. No idea how complicated the world really was. He's a good kid, Marcus said. He's the best thing I ever did. Hold on to him. Don't let anything, the job, the stress, anything, make you miss his childhood. It goes fast, I know. She looked at Marcus. I'm trying. You're doing better than trying. You're doing it right. The words hit her harder than she expected. She'd been so tired for so long, so focused on survival, that she'd stopped thinking about whether she was doing a good job. Stopped giving herself credit for any of it. Thank you, she said. I needed to hear that. It's the truth. Lucas spotted her and waved. She waved back, smiling. I should go, she said, standing up. He'll want lunch soon, and if I don't feed him, I'll never hear the end of it. Marcus nodded. Take care, Sarah. You too. She hesitated. Will I see you again? Do you want to? She thought about it. About everything she knew and everything she didn't. About the danger, and the strangeness, and the comfort. Yes, she said, I do. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. Then you will. It didn't happen all at once. There was no sudden transformation, no dramatic moment when everything changed. It was gradual, a slow building of trust, of familiarity, of something that Sarah couldn't quite name, but felt more and more with each passing week. Marcus started coming around. Not every day, not even every week at first, but regularly. He'd show up at the park when she was there with Lucas. He'd be at the coffee shop on Saturday mornings. Once she came out of her night job at 2 a.m. and found him waiting in the parking lot just to make sure she got to her car safely. You don't have to do this, she told him. I know. Then why do you? He didn't answer. But he kept doing it. Lucas warmed up to him quickly. Kids had a sense for these things. Sarah had always believed, and her son had decided, that Marcus was safe. He called him the motorcycle man and asked constantly if he could have a ride. Marcus always said no, too dangerous, but he let Lucas sit on the bike when it was parked, let him pretend to rev the engine and make motor sounds. Sarah watched these interactions with a complicated mix of emotions: gratitude, affection, caution. This was good for Lucas. He needed male figures in his life, needed to see that not all men were like his father. But she was also aware of what Marcus was, what he'd done, the world he came from. She was letting her son get attached to a Hell's Angel. Was that responsible? But then she'd see them together, Marcus showing Lucas how to check the tire pressure, Lucas listening with rapt attention, and she'd think, maybe responsibility isn't as simple as I thought. Maybe good people can come from bad places. One night, about 2 months after their first meeting at the park, Sarah invited Marcus to dinner. It was impulsive. She'd been cooking, Lucas had been asking about him, and, before she knew it, she was sending the text. He could say no. He probably would say no. Men like Marcus didn't do family dinners. He said yes. He showed up at 6, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, instead of his usual leather, holding a bottle of wine in one hand and a toy truck in the other. For him, he said, handing her the truck. Didn't know what he liked, but the guy at the store said trucks are always good. He'll love it. Lucas did love it. He ran round the living room making engine sounds while Sarah finished cooking, and Marcus sat at the kitchen table looking slightly uncomfortable. "You okay?" she asked. "Fine. Just, it's been a while since I did this." "Did what?" "This normal stuff. Dinner at someone's house." Sarah handed him a cutting board and a knife. "Then, help me with the salad. You'll feel less weird if you have something to do." He took the knife and started chopping vegetables. His hands were big and scarred, more used to other kinds of work, but he handled the knife with surprising precision. "You're good at that," she observed. "I've done a lot of cooking over the years. When you live alone, you learn." "How long have you lived alone?" "Since my wife left." 20 years, give or take. That's a long time. It is. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Lucas came in and out, showing off his truck, asking when dinner would be ready. Sarah felt something loosen in her chest, something that had been tight for so long she'd forgotten it was there. "This feels right," she thought. "This feels like what life is supposed to be." After dinner, Lucas insisted that Marcus see his room. He dragged him down the hall to show off his toys, his books, his drawings on the wall. Sarah cleaned up the kitchen and listened to them talking, Lucas's high voice and Marcus's low rumble, and she felt tears prick at her eyes for the second time since she'd known this man. When Marcus came back, Lucas was in his arms, already half asleep. He passed out mid-sentence. Marcus said, "Where do you want him?" "His room." "I'll put him to bed. I can do it. If that's okay." Sarah hesitated. Then she nodded. Marcus carried Lucas down the hall, and Sarah heard the soft sounds of him laying her son in bed, pulling up the covers. A moment later, he came back. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you. For dinner. For," he gestured vaguely, "all of this." "You're welcome." They stood there in the living room, suddenly awkward. The ease of the evening had passed, and now they were just two people who didn't quite know what they were to each other. "I should go," Marcus said. "You could stay." "For a bit." Sarah felt her face flush. "I mean, we could talk, have coffee or something." He looked at her. Really looked, the way he had that first night on the highway. "I don't want to complicate your life," he said. "Too late for that." "Sarah, I know what you are, Marcus. I know the club, the life, all of it. And I'm not saying I understand it or that I'm okay with all of it. But I know you. I've seen who you are when you're here with me and Lucas, and that's what I care about." He didn't say anything, but he didn't leave either. "I'm not asking for anything," she continued. "Not commitment, not promises. I like having you around. Lucas likes having you around, and I think maybe you like being around. So why don't we just ... see where it goes?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I'm not a good man, Sarah. I've done things. I don't need you to be a good man. I need you to be a good man to us. There's a difference." He looked at her, and for the first time she saw something unguarded in his eyes, something vulnerable. "Yeah," he said quietly, "there is." He didn't leave. They sat on the couch, talked for hours, about everything and nothing. He told her about the club, about his years on the road, about the things he'd done that he wasn't proud of, and the things he was. She told him about Derek, about her childhood, about the dreams she'd had before life got in the way. Somewhere around midnight she fell asleep with her head on his shoulder. When she woke up it was morning, and he was gone. But there was a note on the coffee table. "Had to go. Didn't want to wake you. Last night meant something. I'll be back." She held the note in her hands and smiled. The weeks turned into months. Marcus became a fixture in their lives, not quite family, not quite something else, but present, real. He was there for Lucas's school play, sitting in the back row, looking uncomfortable but watching every second. He was there when Sarah's car broke down, appearing within an hour to fix it himself. He was there on Sunday mornings and random weekday evenings, and any time she needed him. He never moved in, never made it official. That wasn't his way, and maybe it wasn't hers either. But he was there, and that was enough. One night, about 6 months after that first dinner, Sarah asked him the question she'd been thinking about for a long time. "Have you thought any more about Emily? About reaching out?" They were on her porch, sitting in the dark, listening to the crickets. Lucas was asleep inside. Marcus was quiet for a while. Then he said, "I found her." Sarah sat up. "What?" "I found her. Last month. She lives in Oregon, Portland. Married, 2 kids. She's a teacher." "Marcus, She didn't know what to say. "Are you going to contact her?" "I wrote her a letter. Haven't sent it yet. I don't know if I should. Can I read it?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope, worn at the edges from handling. He handed it to her. Sarah opened it, unfolded the letter inside. It was handwritten. She hadn't expected that in careful, deliberate script. "Dear Emily, I don't know if you'll read this or throw it away. I wouldn't blame you either way. I wasn't there for you when you needed me, and nothing I say now can change that. I'm not writing to make excuses or ask for forgiveness. I just want you to know that I thought about you every day. That losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me, even though I know it was my own fault. That I hope you've had a good life, the kind of life I couldn't give you. I met someone recently, a woman with a son. She stopped to help me when I was broken down on the side of the road, in the middle of the night, when anyone else would have kept driving. She showed me that kindness still exists, that people can still surprise you. She has a boy, 7 years old. Watching them together made me think about you and me, about everything I missed. It made me want to reach out, even though I know I probably don't have the right. You don't have to respond. You don't owe me anything. But if you ever want to talk eyes, if you ever want to know who I am now, not who I was, then I'm here. I'll always be here. I love you. I always have." Your father, Sarah, folded the letter and handed it back to him. Her eyes were wet. "Send it," she said. "What if she doesn't respond? Then at least you tried. At least she knows." She took his hand. "You've been given a second chance, Marcus. With me, with Lucas, and maybe with her too. Don't waste it. He looked at the letter in his hands. Then at her. I'll send it tomorrow, he said. Good. They sat in silence, hands intertwined, watching the stars. Sarah thought about the night they'd met, the broken-down motorcycle, the flashlight, the needle. She'd stopped to help a stranger, never knowing what it would lead to, and here they were. Two broken people, finding their way towards something whole. 3 weeks later, Marcus got a response. It was short, just a few lines, but it was something. Emily was willing to talk, willing to try. He called her the next day. Sarah sat with him while he did, holding his hand, listening to his end of the conversation. His voice shook the whole time. When he hung up, he was crying. Sarah had never seen him cry. She wants to meet, he said. She's coming to California next month. She's bringing the kids. Sarah pulled him into a hug and held him while he broke down. This hard, dangerous man, sobbing like a child, overwhelmed by a grace he never expected. You see, she whispered, kindness matters. It always matters. Emily came in August. Sarah offered to make herself scarce, but Marcus asked her to stay. You're part of this, he said. You're the reason it's happening. So she was there when Emily walked through the door. A woman in her mid-30s, nervous and guarded, looking at the father she hadn't seen since she was a child. 2 kids behind her, a boy and a girl, watching with curious eyes. It was awkward at first, stilted. Too much time and too much hurt to bridge in a single afternoon. But they tried. They sat in Sarah's living room and talked carefully at first, then more openly. Emily asked questions. Marcus answered them honestly, without excuses. He told her about his life, his choices, his regrets. He told her about Sarah and Lucas. He told her that he wanted to be part of her life, if she'd let him, even though he knew he didn't deserve it. Emily listened, and at the end of the afternoon she said, I don't know if I can forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'm willing to try. That was enough. That was everything. The months passed. Emily came back to visit, then again. Marcus went to Portland, met her husband, spent time with his grandchildren. It was slow and difficult, and sometimes painful, but it was happening. A family, rebuilding itself one piece at a time. And through it all, Sarah was there. The woman who'd stopped on a dark highway to help a stranger. The woman who'd given a man a reason to hope again. One night, almost a year after they'd met, Marcus took her to the spot where it had all started. The same stretch of Highway 33. The same shoulder where his bike had broken down. This is where you found me, he said. I remember, I was in a bad place that night. Not just the bike, everything. I'd been thinking about Emily, about all the things I'd lost. I was wondering if any of it was worth it anymore. He looked at her, and then you stopped. You got out of your car, and you helped me. A stranger. No questions, no hesitation. Just kindness. He took her hand. You saved me that night, Sarah. Not just my bike, me. You reminded me that there are still good people in the world. That I could still be connected to something good. He paused. I love you. I should have said it before now, but I love you. You and Lucas. You're my family now. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. She stepped into his arms, held him tight, felt his heartbeat against her chest. I love you too, she whispered. I have for a long time. They stood there on the side of the road, in the dark, in the place where everything had started. 2 people who'd found each other by chance and chosen each other on purpose. And somewhere in the distance, an engine rumbled. Another rider on another road, heading toward another future. But this road, this future was theirs,